Have you ever wondered why gravity is supposedly so powerful that it can move entire oceans and send gigantic tidal waves around the globe? Yet it cannot even move the water in this small cup right here. We've been told a story since we are children, a story we were never allowed to question. Any unconditional child could dismantle the official Torus with just a few simple questions. What if I told you today? Gravity, as it is thought to us, does not exist. It is a false interpretation. Let's rewrite the history. Let's go back to the years Isaac Newton is sitting under a tree, watching an apple fall. An everyday occurrence, but in that moment he begins to spin a web of thoughts. Who really knows where this idea came from? Was it his own mind, or was it whispered to him by some in the shadows? The result was the theory of gravity, the claim that an infinitely dense mass sits inside the Earth, generating an invisible magical force of attraction, a perfect textbook for fairy tale. But let's look at the reality we observe every single day without misinterpreting it. It is not a phenomenon of attraction. It is a phenomenon of density. When you jump into the ocean, you don't sink completely. Why? Because the density of your body in the moment is slightly lower than that of the water. You float, you swim. However, if your density increases, if you become more compact, you sink. A stone has a high density and displaces water faster. It sinks immediately. Gold or steel, with a density of over 7, sink even more rapidly. And exactly the same thing happens on a dry land. The density of the Earth is about 1.7 to 2.1, often have an even higher density, and that is precisely why they slowly and steadily sink into the Earth. Every house we build is essentially like a boat floating on the dense medium of the Earth. We are told the moon attracts the water and creates the tides, a massive wave that supposedly travels around the Earth over and over again. But that's not the truth. There's no mystical giant wave. The truth is much more fascinating. It is a matter of geometry and energy. If we look closely at the Earth, we see patterns. The mountains form curves if there were no water in between. These curves would simply continue. Land masses are just more sluggish. The material deforms slower than the fluid water. And how do these formations arise? Forget the theory of tectonic plates, supposedly sliding over and under and on another. In reality, we are moving within toroidal fields, energetic informative vortices. How else can it be explained that the sea level in the Indian Ocean is at minus 200 meters, while in the Atlantic Ocean it's a plus 200 meters? This was officially recognized only in 2015. Thought in initiate circles it has been known for much longer. This sea level difference exists because massive energetically informative tori are active there. They accumulate energy like an infinity machine. They push the mass upwards from the center, pilling up mountains, and the water falls down. to the left and the right. This creates the worldwide waves that overlap and intersect completely independent of a moon. Let's go a step further. Inside the Earth, there is no infinitely heavy mass. Similarly, black holes are not infinitely heavy. You do not get stretched or deformed when you approach one. A black hole is ultimately the same as a door, a portal. You go in and you come out somewhere else. It's pure physics. If you walk through a door and close it behind you, you haven't simply vanished, you are just somewhere else. The fantasy of humanity sometimes are very primitive. In exactly the same way, there are portals in the north, in the Arctic, and in the south, in the Antarctic, that lead to the inside of the Earth. At the moment they are closed because the life forms down there simply want nothing to do with us. Because yes, the Earth is indeed hollow. There is no endless sea of lava down there in the center. The Earth itself is a giant torus, a vortex. The energy focus in the center, practically creating an inner sun. The Earth crust is only between 500 to 800 kilometers thick. Within this crust, there are cavities, massive subterranean oceans. The crust is like a skin, like an organ, and inside is a hollow body, a holon. You can observe this pattern everywhere in the universe. Galaxies move toroidally. We only see the matter, but the informational and energetical parts, which we cannot see with the naked eye, are just as real. The pattern repeats itself in plants, in their movement, even the aura of a human adopts this shape, just like the gigantic aura of the Sun, which we call the heliosphere. The torus pattern is omnipresent. So, why hasn't anyone come up with this idea yet? It lies in the nature of the short-term thinking. When we have grown accustomed to the theory, it is very difficult to step outside of the given framework. Do you know the puzzle of the 9 dots that you have to connect with 4 straight lines without lifting your pen? The average person never comes up with the idea that you can leave the frame. Why? Because they imagine this frame internally, even through it, doesn't actually exist. In the same way, we must acknowledge today that we may have been wrong in the science for 300 years, simply because we refuse to leave the fictional framework. Now comes the next step. It's about the missing zero element, the Aether. It is an invisible force that pervades between all planets, structured like a massive neutral energetic network. Info-energetic network. The universe is held together and built by 3 substances. They are meta-substances. The first one is information, the second energy, and the third from the nature matter. Information is the form, the blueprint. Energy is the substance that fills out and executes the blueprint. And matter is the final product, when everything is generated and complete. Information is the plan, energy is the craftsman, and matter is the finished house. A very ordinary analogy that explains everything. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll join me again next time, because there are still many other secrets waiting to be uncovered. Check out my next video here, how the pyramids were really built. Thank you.